Season 7, AI and Government. Episode 4, How AI Changes Warfare Without Soldiers. Introduction. Warfare is changing its shape. For most of history, war looked like a brutal kind of visibility. Armies crossing borders. Soldiers holding territory. Gunfire and trenches. Jets in the sky. Ships on the sea. People could argue about motives and politics, but one thing was clear. War had bodies. War had uniforms. War had a front line. AI changes that. Not because it removes violence, but because it changes who carries the violence and how it is directed. A war can now be fought through software, through sensors, through automated targeting, through disinformation, through drones guided by algorithms, through cyber attacks that never show a face. In this new landscape, soldiers do not disappear, but their role can shrink. Decisions move from the battlefield to the network. Control moves from physical presence to data dominance. This episode explains how AI changes warfare without soldiers, why this shift is accelerating, and what it means when conflict becomes more remote, more automated, and easier to deny. 2. What people get wrong about AI war. Many people imagine AI warfare as one dramatic thing. A killer robot. A fully autonomous drone. A machine that decides who lives and dies. That image is not totally wrong, but it is incomplete. Most AI in warfare is not a single independent robot. It is systems that assist and accelerate decision-making. AI helps find targets. AI helps classify threats. AI helps interpret sensor data. AI helps allocate resources. AI helps jam and deceive. AI helps plan operations. AI helps automate cyber offense and defense. The result is not one robot replacing an army. The result is a battlefield where the speed of decisions increases and where the most powerful actor is the one who can see and act first. 3. Why AI matters in war: speed, scale, uncertainty. War is a competition under uncertainty. You rarely know exactly what the enemy is doing. You rarely know where the threat will come from. You rarely have enough time to verify everything. AI is attractive because it promises 3 advantages. 1. Speed, faster detection and faster response. 2. Scale, processing more data than humans can handle. 3. Prediction, estimating likely enemy moves and risks. In warfare, speed can be the difference between survival and loss. If AI gives even a small speed advantage, militaries will want it. That is why the AI arms race is not only about power. It is about fear of being slower. 4. The new front line, data and sensors. Traditional warfare depends on seeing the battlefield. But modern battlefields are covered in sensors. Satellites. Drones. Radar systems. Acoustic sensors. Infrared cameras. Signals intelligence. Network traffic monitoring. Open source data. This creates a new reality. The problem is no longer collecting data. The problem is interpreting it fast enough. AI becomes the interpreter. It sifts through massive streams of sensor input and highlights what it thinks matters. In effect, AI becomes the eyes of the military. And if AI becomes the eyes, then the war becomes a competition over perception. Who sees first? Who sees more accurately? Who can blind the other? That is one reason warfare can shift away from soldiers. Because perception and control can happen remotely. 5. Targeting without soldiers, how the kill chain changes. Military operations often follow a sequence sometimes described as a kill chain. Find a target. Fix its location. Track it. Select a weapon. Engage. Assess results. AI can accelerate every step. It can identify objects in imagery. It can recognize patterns in movement. It can predict where a target will go. It can recommend weapon options. It can assess damage through automated image comparison. This does not always remove humans from the chain, but it can compress time so much that humans become rubber stamps. If the system produces a target recommendation at speed, a human may approve quickly because delaying could mean losing the target. The practical effect can look like automated killing even when a human technically clicked the final approval. This is how warfare becomes less about soldiers on the ground and more about decision systems and remote strike capabilities. 6. Drones. From remote piloting to algorithmic swarms. Drones are the most visible symbol of modern remote warfare. At first, drones were remotely piloted aircraft. A human operator watched a feed and controlled movement. AI shifts drones toward greater autonomy. AI can stabilize flight. AI can navigate environments. AI can detect objects. AI can track targets. AI can coordinate multiple drones. The most important shift is swarming. A swarm is not one drone. It is many. Instead of a single expensive platform, a force can deploy dozens or hundreds of smaller systems. AI can coordinate them. A swarm can overwhelm defenses. A swarm can saturate radar. A swarm can attack from multiple angles. A swarm can act as decoys to reveal enemy positions. This changes warfare economics. It becomes cheaper to attack and more expensive to defend. And it reduces the need for soldiers to physically approach targets. The system can approach instead. 7. Loitering munitions, the patrolling weapon. A loitering munition is sometimes described as a drone that is also a missile. It can search an area and wait. When it identifies a target, it dives and destroys itself and the target. AI makes these systems more dangerous because it can improve target recognition and reduce the need for active human control. This changes the meaning of battlefield presence. Instead of soldiers holding an area can be held by persistent systems watching from above. The sky becomes a sensor network and a weapon. This shifts control from boots on the ground to data and air dominance. 8. Automated air defense and the speed trap. As attack systems become faster, defense systems must respond faster. Air defense involves detecting threats and reacting in seconds. AI can assist by classifying incoming objects and recommending responses. But here is the trap. If the pace of attack increases, defenders may feel forced to automate more of the response. Because human reaction is slower than machine reaction. This creates a spiral. One side automates to gain speed. The other side automates to survive speed. Both sides increase risk of error. In this environment, the role of soldiers shifts again. The critical decisions are no longer made in trenches. They are made in control rooms, on networks, and inside automated systems. 9. Cyberwarfare, the battlefield you never see. Cyberwarfare is one of the purest forms of warfare without soldiers. No tanks cross borders. No uniforms appear. Yet infrastructure can be damaged. Services can be disrupted. Data can be stolen. Systems can be sabotaged. AI changes cyberwarfare in two major ways. 1. It helps attackers find vulnerabilities and craft more convincing attacks. 2. It helps defenders detect anomalies and respond more quickly. The key point is that cyber conflict is continuous. It happens before open war. It happens during peace. It happens silently. AI makes it more scalable. A small team with strong tools can attack many targets at once. That shifts power away from mass armies and toward technical capacity. 10. Information warfare, influence at industrial scale. Another form of warfare without soldiers is influence. Propaganda, disinformation, psychological operations, narrative shaping, social division tactics. These tactics are old, but AI scales them. AI can generate content quickly. AI can produce many versions of a message. AI can tailor messages to different groups. AI can automate fake engagement and amplification. AI can flood channels with noise. The goal is not always to convince you of one belief. Sometimes the goal is to exhaust you, to create confusion, to weaken trust, to make people doubt institutions, to make society argue with itself. When information becomes a battlefield, war can be fought through attention rather than territory. And soldiers become less central, because the target is the public mind. 11. Deception, when AI makes fake strategic. Deception has always been part of war. Camouflage, decoys, false signals, misdirection. AI expands deception. Synthetic audio can mimic voices. Synthetic video can mimic events. Fake images can stage incidents. Automated accounts can simulate public consensus. In war, deception can trigger escalation. A fake attack can justify retaliation. A fake statement can weaken alliances. A fake incident can ignite conflict. AI makes deception easier and faster. That increases a dangerous factor in warfare. Uncertainty. When leaders cannot trust information, they may act on fear. Fear leads to faster decisions. Fast decisions can lead to mistakes. This is how AI can raise the risk of conflict even when no soldiers move. 12. Surveillance and targeting in occupied spaces. In conflicts involving occupation or control of territory, AI can reduce the need for constant troop presence by increasing surveillance density. Cameras, drones, biometrics, behavior analytics, phone tracking, predictive policing tools. These systems can identify people, map networks, and flag anomalies. The goal is control. Control can be maintained through monitoring and selective enforcement rather than mass troop deployment. This is warfare as administration. Not always called war. Sometimes called security. Sometimes called counter-terrorism. Sometimes called stabilization. But the effect can be similar. AI becomes the infrastructure of control. 13. Logistics, the unseen power behind war. Wars are won not only by tactics, but by logistics. Fuel, food, ammunition, repair parts, transport routes, medical supplies, maintenance scheduling. AI can optimize logistics, predict equipment failures, manage supply chains, allocate resources across units, forecast demand, optimize routes under threat. This may sound boring, but it is decisive. A force that moves supplies more efficiently can operate longer and faster. This also changes the soldier's role. If AI makes logistics smoother, fewer troops may be required for support roles. War becomes more about systems integration and less about mass manpower. 14. Command and control, the real center of power. In modern warfare, the most important asset is often not a weapon. It is command and control. The ability to coordinate forces. The ability to understand the battlefield. The ability to communicate securely. The ability to make decisions quickly. AI strengthens command and control by filtering information and suggesting actions. But it also introduces risk. If AI becomes the filter, it can shape what commanders believe is true. If the model is wrong, decisions can be wrong. If the system is hacked or deceived, it can mislead the entire force. This creates a new vulnerability. When you depend on AI for perception, you can be defeated by manipulating AI. So warfare becomes partly a contest over the integrity of decision systems. 15. The new strategy, blinding the enemy. If AI depends on senses and data, then a powerful strategy is to blind those senses. Jamming, spoofing, cyber intrusion, decoys, camouflage designed to fool machine vision, signal noise to overwhelm detection. This is not hypothetical. If a model identifies tanks by patterns, decoys can imitate patterns. If a drone tracks movement, false movement can distract it. If a system relies on GPS spoofing can misdirect it. This creates a warfare environment where soldiers may never see the enemy, but the battle is intense inside data streams. 16. The error problem, when machines misclassify life. In civilian settings, an AI error can be frustrating. In war, an AI error can be fatal. Misclassification is unavoidable. Models are statistical. Battlefields are messy. Lighting changes. Weather changes. People behave unpredictably. Enemies adapt intentionally. If an AI system misidentifies a civilian as a combatant, the consequences are irreversible. If an AI system misses a threat, forces can be attacked. This creates pressure to trust the system when it seems effective, and to override the system when it seems risky. But in fast-paced conflict, judgment time shrinks. This is why AI in warfare increases moral and legal tension. It accelerates decisions without improving human understanding. 17. The accountability gap. WHO is responsible for a machine-aided strike. Traditional warfare accountability is already difficult. But AI complicates it further. If a strike goes wrong, was it the operator? Was it the commander? Was it the model? Was it the data? Was it the vendor? Was it the policy threshold? Was it the intelligence source? Responsibility can fragment. Fragmented responsibility reduces deterrence. If nobody feels fully responsible, harmful actions can become easier. This is one reason AI warfare is politically attractive. It can make violence feel procedural. A decision produced by a system feels less personal, less emotionally heavy. But less personal violence can become more frequent violence. 18. Lowering the cost of war, the biggest strategic shift. One of the most important ways AI changes warfare is by lowering its political and human cost for the attacker. If fewer soldiers are deployed, fewer soldiers die. If fewer soldiers die, public backlash is lower. If backlash is lower, leaders face fewer constraints. If constraints are lower, the threshold for initiating conflict can drop. This does not mean leaders become evil. It means the incentives change. Remote warfare can feel cleaner. But it can also become more common. When war becomes easier to sustain, it can become easier to start. This is one of the most dangerous impacts of warfare without soldiers. It changes the decision calculus. 19. Plausible deniability, war without clear authorship. AI-enabled conflict can be hard to attribute. A cyber attack can be routed through many systems. A disinformation campaign can be spread by anonymous accounts. A drone strike can be blamed on a proxy group. A sabotage event can look like an accident. Attribution matters because it is what triggers consequences. If you cannot prove who attacked you, response becomes uncertain. Uncertainty can lead to escalation or restraint, depending on politics. But either way, it weakens norms. A world with weak attribution encourages covert conflict. Conflict becomes continuous. Not declared. Not ended. Always simmering. This is a kind of warfare that democracies especially struggle with because democratic accountability expects clear events and clear authors. 20. AI and the nuclear question, early warning and escalation risk. Even without going into classified details, one general risk is clear. If AI is used in early warning systems or threat detection, errors can become catastrophic. False positives can create panic. Panic can trigger rapid escalation. Escalation can become irreversible. The most dangerous environment is one where leaders believe they must act quickly. AI can accelerate the pace of perception. It can also produce confident-looking outputs. Confidence can be misleading. If decision-makers trust machine certainty during crisis, the risk of fatal miscalculation rises. This is not about AI being evil. It is about speed and uncertainty. 21. The new arms race, not just weapons, but talent, data, and compute. Traditional arms races measured tanks, ships, and aircraft. AI warfare adds new categories. Compute capacity. Data quality. Model training expertise. Sensor integration. Secure communications. Semiconductor supply chains. Power shifts toward actors who can build and maintain complex systems. This favors large states and large corporations. It can also empower smaller actors in certain domains, especially cyber and information operations. So AI warfare produces a mixed landscape. Centralization at the high end. Asymmetry at the low end. Both can destabilize the world. 22. The human role does not disappear, it moves. It is important to be precise. AI does not eliminate humans from war. Humans still set objectives. Humans still choose strategies. Humans still decide thresholds. Humans still approve missions. Humans still build systems. Humans still bear consequences. But the human role moves. From frontline fighting to remote control. From direct observation to dashboard interpretation. From physical presence to system management. From soldier courage to operator endurance. This changes the psychology of war. Operators may experience moral injury even from distance. Decision makers may feel detached from consequences. Publics may feel war is abstract. War becomes less visible to the societies waging it, even while it remains very real to the societies experiencing it. 23. What this means for international law and ethics. International law was shaped around human decision-making and state responsibility. AI introduces challenges: how to define meaningful human control, how to audit targeting systems, how to prove intent when outcomes are probabilistic, how to assign responsibility when systems are complex, how to prevent automation bias in lethal decisions. Ethics becomes operational. It is no longer only about values, but about system design. Thresholds. Training data. Rules of engagement. Fail-safes. Audit logs. Oversight procedures. If those safeguards are weak, lethal systems can drift toward high-speed violence. 24. What a safer path would require. A safer path does not require pretending AI will disappear. It requires limits and discipline. Clear policies requiring meaningful human control in lethal decisions. Strict testing and evaluation of targeting systems under realistic conditions. Robust oversight and accountability for errors. Transparency around procurement and vendor roles. Strong cybersecurity to prevent deception and hijacking. International norms to restrict certain uses, especially uncontrolled autonomy and mass biometric surveillance in conflict zones. Verification and confidence-building measures to reduce escalation risk. These steps are difficult because states fear falling behind. But the alternative is worse. A world where machines accelerate conflict faster than humans can manage. 25. Core takeaway. AI changes warfare without soldiers by shifting the center of conflict from physical presence to data dominance. It accelerates targeting and decision cycles. It enables remote and semi-autonomous systems like drones and swarms. It scales cyber and information operations. It increases surveillance and control in contested spaces. It lowers the political cost of using force, which can lower the threshold for conflict. It creates new risks of error, deception, escalation, and accountability collapse. Warfare becomes less visible to the societies waging it, more continuous and more automated. The question is not whether war will become more technological. It already has. The question is whether societies will impose limits before speed and automation make conflict easier to start and harder to stop. If this episode helped you understand how AI changes warfare without soldiers, like this video so more people can see it. Share it with someone who thinks AI warfare is only science fiction. And subscribe to Uncovering Facts for deep, hype-free episodes on technology, power, and the systems shaping modern life. Next episode, why AI is a geopolitical weapon.